Today we're going to go over how to sync calendars between a Microsoft account and a Google account. First, we'll try to do it by publishing and subscribing to internet calendars, but we'll see that that doesn't really work. So then we'll show how to actually sync your calendars with CalendarBridge. On the left, I'm showing a Google Calendar. This happens to be a free Gmail account, but what I'm going to show today is the same for any paid Google Workspace account. On the right, I'm showing a Microsoft calendar. Again, this happens to be a free Hotmail account, but what I'm going to show today works for any Microsoft 365 account that includes Exchange Online. So again, first I'm going to try to sync my calendars by publishing them as internet calendars and then subscribing to those internet calendars. This is not going to be what most people want for at least two reasons. The first reason is that subscribed internet calendars do not block off your time in the Outlook scheduling assistant or in Google Find a Time. So subscribed internet calendars are not going to stop your colleagues from double booking you using one of those tools. Second, subscribed internet calendars update very infrequently, maybe once a day if you're lucky. Nevertheless, I'll show you how to subscribe to internet calendars in Google and Outlook, but then I'll show you how to actually sync your calendars using CalendarBridge. The Google Calendar I'm using for this demonstration has just two events on it with subjects of Google One and Google Two. Likewise, the Microsoft calendar I'm using has just two events on it. And what I want is to have time for these two Google events blocked off on my Outlook calendar, and I want the time for these two Outlook events blocked off on my Google calendar. That way, regardless of whether I'm looking at my Google calendar or my Outlook calendar, I'll know when I'm free and busy. More importantly, my Microsoft colleagues using the Outlook or Teams scheduling assistant will see that I'm busy during these Google One and Google Two events. And my Google colleagues using the Find a Time feature will see that I'm busy during these Microsoft One and Microsoft Two events. To subscribe to my Google Calendar from Outlook, first thing to do is, in Google Calendar, click the three dots next to the calendar and then select Settings and Sharing. Now, in order for this to work, the first thing we need to do is make the calendar public, which, as the warning here shows, means that the calendar becomes visible to the whole world. We can make this a little less scary by only exposing free busy and not event details, but that also means that we won't be able to see those details in Outlook. Then we scroll down looking for the public address in iCal format. Make sure to grab this one. The secret address won't work for sharing with a Microsoft account. So copy that public address in iCal format, and then we're going to go over to Outlook, click Add Calendar, and click Subscribe from Web. Paste in the URL you copied, choose a color and a charm, and I'll name the calendar Google Calendar, and then click Import. You can see the Google Calendar we imported now shows under my Other Calendars, and we can see the two Google events here in Outlook. But there are two problems, as I alluded to before. The first is that busy time on the Google Calendar is not reflected in the Outlook scheduling assistant. If I go up to create a new event and then look at 10 a.m. on the 17th, it shows that I'm free. Same with the 18th, it shows I'm free at 10 a.m. And that's because the Outlook scheduling assistant only looks at your primary calendar. It doesn't account for those other calendars. And so this is obviously a recipe for disaster in terms of getting double booked if your Microsoft colleagues are using the Outlook scheduling assistant or the Teams scheduling assistant to find times to meet with you. The second problem with subscribed internet calendars is that they update very infrequently. I'll add an event Google 3 to the Google Calendar. Now, if my goal is to not get double booked or miss meetings, I want that to show up in Outlook as soon as possible. Unfortunately, Microsoft's documentation says that changes on an internet calendar can take more than 24 hours to be reflected in Outlook. So these problems we're seeing subscribing to a Google Calendar from Outlook are the same problems present when subscribing to an Outlook calendar from Google. To show that, I'll come over to Outlook, I'll click the gear up at the top, click View Outlook Settings, Share Calendars, and grab the public link to that calendar. Over in Google, click the plus sign next to Other Calendars, click From URL, paste in the link that we just copied, and click Add Calendar. And Houston, we have a problem. you can see that Google has imported a stale version of my Outlook calendar. So I was testing this earlier today and the events were slightly different, and it looks like Google cached that back when I was testing. And so now best case scenario is probably, hopefully, this will correct itself sometime in the next 12 to 24 hours, according to Google documentation. So again, obviously these are not the types of behaviors I need if I'm a busy person trying to manage my calendars. I'm just going to delete these internet calendars and we'll jump ahead to see how CalendarBridge actually syncs your calendars and makes this so much more easy and reliable. Okay, so now I've pulled up CalendarBridge.com and I'm going to create a new account from scratch. Let's say I want my account related emails to go to my Gmail address, so that's the one I'll sign up with. CalendarBridge is going to send a one-time code to that email address. So I'll copy that, paste it into the verification box, and there we go. I've now created a new CalendarBridge account and I'm automatically on a free 7-day trial. First, I'll connect my Google Calendar. So click Connect a Calendar Account, click Google Account. This is going to redirect me to Google's website where I will log in to authorize CalendarBridge to access my calendar. And then I'll connect my Microsoft calendar. So click Add Another Account, click Office 365 Account, which redirects me to Microsoft's website where I will log in and authorize CalendarBridge to access my Outlook calendar. So once both accounts are connected, I can click Start Syncing Calendars and select my Hotmail calendar, select my Google Calendar. I'll set this up as a two-directional sync, and I want event copies to be orange on both calendars. Click Continue. And for this demonstration, I want the details of all my events to show up in both calendars, so I'm going to check all these boxes. Later on, I'll do another example where I only want to block off my time and not sync over any of my calendar details. So that's it. Click Create Sync, and now CalendarBridge is already doing its thing. Over in my calendars, you can see the orange event copies have already showed up. The first improvement here over the internet calendars we saw earlier is that these orange events are on my main calendars, which means that these times are shown as busy in the Outlook Scheduling Assistant and in Google Find a Time. The second improvement over the internet calendars is that CalendarBridge syncs updates in real time. Now, if I create a new Google For event on my Google Calendar, you see it very quickly syncs that event to my Microsoft calendar. There it is. That's how CalendarBridge keeps you from getting double booked. I can do the same thing on the Outlook calendar. I'll create an event called Microsoft 3. And then Google is not quite as slick. I actually have to go up and refresh the page. And there you see the event has synced over. Deletes and edits to events also happen in real time. So I'll delete that Microsoft 3 event I just created. Refresh the page. Okay, got a little impatient. Refresh again. And okay, that delete has now synced. Same thing in the other direction. Delete the Google 3 event on my Google Calendar, and it gets deleted from my Outlook calendar. Before I wrap up this video, I'll also demonstrate deleting a sync connection and then also creating a sync connection which blocks off my busy time, but does not copy any of my event details between calendars. So I'll come over here to my CalendarBridge dashboard and delete this sync connection. And pretty soon we'll see those orange events disappear as CalendarBridge removes all the event copies that it made and leaves those calendars just as it found them. Finally, I'll just demonstrate creating a sync connection that blocks off time without copying any event details between calendars. I'll click Add Sync. I'll select the first calendar, select the second calendar. This time I'll just do a one-directional sync and I'll make the event copies green. And this time I don't want any event details copied between calendars, so I'm just going to leave all these boxes unchecked. Click Create Sync, and here you see the Google For event comes over as an event with the subject of just busy. And again, this event is on my main calendar, so if I go into the Outlook Scheduling Assistant, you'll see that 10 o'clock on the 18th is in fact shown as busy. So that's it. We've seen how to publish and subscribe to internet calendars in Outlook and Google, and we've seen how subscribed internet calendars are actually not very useful for managing a busy schedule across multiple calendars. CalendarBridge, on the other hand, actually syncs your calendars in real time. Go ahead and give it a free try at calendarbridge.com.